What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, programmers of all ages? Welcome back to yet another introduction to HaxeFlixel game development programming tutorial. So in last week's tutorial we set up the test state for the melee characters, and this week we will do the same for the ranged characters. So you can open up range teststate.hx, and it's pretty bare bones now, but let's give it some love, shall we? So we can just make some space. We say private var underscore player for the player variable. We say private var underscore ranged monsters, and it's going to be of FLX typed group ranged monster. And then finally private var projectiles of type FLX typed group projectile. Awesome. So now let's initiate these variables. So first off we have to say FLXG, import that, world bounds dot set. So we start by -5,000 and -5,000, and we set the width to 10,000 and the height to 10,000. Next we have the projectiles equals new FLX typed group. And then we add the projectiles to the scene. Okay, next up is the player. So we say underscore player equals new player instance at 0.00. And then we add the player to our scene. We also want to set it so that the camera follows the player top down and 1. Next up we set up the ranged monsters equals new FLX typed group of type ranged monster, and then add to the screen. Now unfortunately we cannot add 1000 of each ranged character, because we'll have 4000 ranged characters with an additional 4000 projectiles being spawned every, I think, 2 seconds. I said it. So we have to unfortunately say underscore for underscore in 0 to 100, and then we want to say ranged monsters dot add new ranged monster with a random float, random dot float, somewhere between -5,000 and 5,000. So we can just copy that and paste it. Then we want to say the target is player and the projectile type is equal to firebolt. And remember your semicolon. Now you can press Ctrl C and then Ctrl V, V and V. Now we just want to change the projectile type of each. So we say ice bolt, poison bolt, and then finally shock bolt. And that should be it for initializing this new state. So next up we override the update function. So let me just scroll down a bit so it's not at the bottom of your screen. So we say we first test if the player wants to shoot, and we say ranged monsters dot for each alive handle ranged monster handle ranged monsters, and then projectiles for each alive handle projectiles, and then we want to test for overlap. So HaxeFlixel dot overlap underscore player underscore projectiles handle player projectile collisions. Now we want to say HaxeFlixel overlap. So this time, instead of the player, it is ranged monsters, then projectiles, and then handle monster projectile collisions, and then super update and the elapsed time. So now let's set up these functions. So if we press Ctrl S, we're about to see a lot of bugs on our screen. Now you can see we don't have the shoot function, we don't have any of the other 4 functions it needs. So let's go and set it up. So the first one is a private function shoot, if I can spell. Then we say, let me just scroll down on my notes, if HaxeFlixel dot mouse just pressed, and we say var mouse position equals HaxeFlixel dot mouse dot get position projectiles dot add new projectile we say player dot get graphics midpoint dot x and player dot get graphics midpoint dot y. The target is the mouse position, and the projectile type is firebolt. And then we want to play the shooting animation, player.fire, the firing animation of the player. So that's one of the 4 functions out of the way. What did I mess up? Oh yeah, I forgot the spawner. My bad. So then finally we want to say the spawner is the player. Cool. So next function is private function handle ranged monsters, and then monster of type ranged monster. If monster dot get should fire var projectile equals new we can just do what we did with the player, so we can just delete the brackets and say underscore projectiles dot add new projectile. So we say monster dot get graphics midpoint dot x, and then monster dot get graphics midpoint dot y, monster dot get target dot dot mid get midpoint. And we say monster dot get projectile type, and then we say monster as the type. And wow, that was a long function. Cool. Next up, we say private function. Let me just scroll down a bit so it's not at the bottom of your screen, nor mine. Handle projectiles. Projectile of type projectile. And then we say if projectile dot get duration alive is greater or equal to 2.0, then we say projectile dot kill. So the next function, second last function, is private function handle player projectile collisions. So we have a player variable of type player, and we have a projectile variable of type projectile. And we say if projectile dot get spawner does not equal player, then we say player dot set position, I think is the first one, at 0, 0, so where we spawn the player and then the projectile can just be killed. Next up is private function handle monster projectile collisions. So we have a monster of type ranged monster and projectile of type projectile. So if projectile dot spawner equals underscore player, then we want to say monster dot kill and projectile dot kill. Awesome. Do we have... oh yeah, this is a function. Cool. I think that's it. Shall we test it out? So we say line test HL for hashlink and dash debug. And then we say enter. I'll be back once this compiles. Okay. So it compiles. So now if we test, click test, ranged map. Now we see the projectiles. They... it's an absolute bullet hole. Ah! Do you understand now why we can't have 1,000 1,000 of each around on the screen? Let's just see. Yeah, we can kill that one. Just find someone. Okay, we can kill that. I think we killed that one. It looks like it. In any case, it's an absolute bullet hole, so I'm not sticking around there. So just before you go, if you enjoyed this week's tutorial, please feel free to drop a like, subscribe, maybe send it to a friend, get them into game development. And if you want to support the channel further, head on over to 8bitswag.com, get yourself a nice Hax hoodie, shirt, or even a sticker to show your love for the programming language and to show your support for me as a YouTuber. I hope you have an awesome week, and goodbye.